Hey everyone, what's up? It's Rachel. I wanted to post this video because I feel like it's an important video to post. I have felt the need to make this video for a while now. I just want to start with, we all need to recognize that Black lives do matter. And if you guys are unaware of what's going on right now, I just wanted to briefly give everyone a general understanding of what's going on right now. Recently, a man named George Floyd was killed by a police officer because he used a counterfeit $20 bill. Without fighting them, he got pushed down to the ground, face on the ground, was knelt on for almost 9 minutes on his neck. If you guys don't know that position, you guys can look it up. I won't be putting it on here. This is much later, but I just want to butt into some of this footage just to clarify or expand on things that I've said. So right now I'm talking about the knee to the neck restraint that the police did. And basically it is actually a restraint banned in most police departments and it's not approved. A knee to the neck can cause many injuries and also cause death because of the weight of the person putting their knee on the neck can allow the neck to pressure in and cause someone to not breathe, which is what happened. George also stated multiple times that he couldn't breathe throughout this restraint, and there were witnesses who were telling to check his pulse, and none of the officers budged it except for one. Asked the person who had his knee on George's neck if they should flip him over on his side, and Chauvin said no. The officer who put his knee to the neck on George Floyd put his knee on George Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. That's just sad. It says here that the Minneapolis police allow police to restrain suspects' necks if they are aggressive or resisting arrest, which was not the case. So George Floyd was killed by a police officer and technically 3 others because they did nothing but watch this police officer kill him. Thankfully, the officer who knelt on George Floyd's neck and the 3 officers involved in this situation were arrested and charged, and that was with the power of protests which are happening right now all over the world. This started a movement. We need to understand that people of color, especially Black people in the Black community, have been fighting against racism and injustice for so long, and we have to understand that enough is enough. It's sad that it takes people dying for our justice system to realize what is happening is wrong and that police brutality is still happening. Sometimes it could go unnoticed. There are many other cases that have happened in the United States alone that went along either police brutality or because a person was killed because of the color of their skin, and that is not right. Being Asian in America, it's definitely different. I am a person of color, but I am known as a model minority. So we as a model minority, if you guys don't know what a model minority is, that it is a minority demographic whose members are perceived to achieve a higher degree of socioeconomic success than the population average, thus serving as a reference group to the outgroup. So as an Asian, I have been perceived to be part of the model minority. So I, as a minority in America, have a lot more privilege than other minorities in America. This doesn't mean that all Asians haven't experienced racism, but it means that if I were stopped by a police compared to a Latin American or a Black person who was stopped by police, I probably would have been told why I was being arrested or why I was pulled over and given a warning. Rather than another minority, they would be arrested without being told why they were arrested or pulled over because of the color of their skin. So I myself recognize that I do have privilege in this society, and growing up with 2 parents who are both in healthcare, I have received a lot of privilege and do still have a lot of privilege going to a private school, receiving a private education my whole entire life, and knowing that I will have a job when I grow up, and when I get out of college I know that I will get a job. Also, a part of my privilege is being able to live in a house in a safe neighborhood, in a safe town. That gives me privilege as well. I watched a video from Colleen Ballinger. She was having a conversation with Todrick Hall, and Todrick basically said that as a Black person, and a black man growing up, he was taught by his parents how to act in front of police and how to act in the public, and he was taught what to do when a police pulls them over or stops him on the side of the road. Going off of this, what tragic means by all of this is that because he was black, he had to be taught as he was growing up how to handle himself in case he was caught by the police because he was black, and that shouldn't happen. That shouldn't be a fear. And if you were white growing up, you were taught how to handle that situation at such a young age. As an Asian, I was not taught how to handle that situation or to even fear the police growing up. So we all have to recognize our privilege in this world and use the privilege for better. So even though I don't have a big platform and I only have 900 subscribers on this channel, I want this to speak to you guys who might have no followers or fewer followers than I, or even more followers than I want you guys to use your platform for the better and recognize your privilege and use it for the better. If you guys are curious about how to become more educated on this topic, I will provide you links down below, as I encourage you guys to donate to all of the funds that can help this movement and help the families of the people who have been killed and help the people who have been protesting and have done nothing wrong but got arrested because they were protesting. If you are not economically stable to donate, I want you guys to know that there are different ways to help out without having to use your money. There are petitions that can be signed. There are text that you can send. There are emails, pre-written emails that you can send to your local government. There is protesting, and if you can't protest, that's okay. But if you do protest, I do want you guys to know that we are still in the middle of a pandemic, and parents like mine are still exposed and working every day to fight this pandemic. So if you guys do go out, please protest safely, wear a mask, wear gloves, and also protect yourselves, your grandparents, your parents, your families. Know that COVID is not gone and it is still existing. My dad has COVID, so there are still people being diagnosed with COVID, and there's still horrible cases happening. So please, please, please be aware, and we all want to protest. Please protest carefully and safely. But going back to this, I've seen a lot of people also talk about all lives matter, and yes, all lives do matter, but people need to know that all lives matter doesn't count unless Black Lives Matter too, and you recognize that. I know people might say, well, why protest? I want you guys to recognize all of the things that we have achieved through protesting. It increased Derek Chauvin's murder charge that had the other 3 officers charged in the death of George Floyd. It reopened Breonna Taylor's case, and Breonna Taylor is a woman who was a medical tech who was sleeping in her own bed, and officers who were dressed plainly went and barged into her house with a no-knock warrant because they suspected that she had drugs in her house, and shot at her multiple times, and she died. Her case was reopened because those officers are still not arrested and charged, and they are still free, so we need justice for her as well. And I also want to say, because of the protests, this is a little update, Breonna's law has been passed through the Public Safety Committee in Louisville, and it's a law that will regulate no-knock warrants. And the protests also reinvested $100 million into communities of color in LA, which is amazing. This all happened in 1 week of protests. They also have updates on Ahmaud's case, and if you guys don't know who Ahmaud is, he was a black man who was running in a neighborhood and was beaten and shot, I believe, by white men. The updates on Ahmaud's case is that the judge found probable cause for murder charges against the men who killed Ahmaud. So protests are not useless, and they are actually making change in this world, and many of the protests are peaceful. The media covers the riots and all of the harmful protests that are happening, and some aren't even started by the protesters. So please be aware of what you see in the media. Sorry, this is all over the place. I have so much to say about this, and I will continue to be advocating for the Black community. The more we educate ourselves, the more we can become a better ally for our Black friends and for our Black community. Donate if you can, protest if you can, and if you can't do either, there are more things that you can do. You can watch the video. I will provide it down below that has AdSense on it, and all of the proceeds from that video will be donated. And there are other things as well, such as signing petitions and such. So I will provide all of these things down below for you. And I think the more we can educate ourselves and educate others, the better the outcome will be. And if we use our privilege and recognize our privilege for the better, then there can be a significant change that can happen. And as you can see, change is already happening. Be a part of the change, recognize your privilege, and understand that Black lives matter and they need us so much right now. If you can, reach out to your Black friends, learn from their experiences, listen to them, try to make this world a better place. Enough is enough, and Black lives matter. Advocate as much as you can, be an ally. Just because you start to hear people stop talking about this, don't stop talking about it. Keep making a change, keep fighting for our Black community. And don't let it just be a trend. Let's fight both COVID and the racial injustice that is going on right now, and fight for our Black community. People killing, people dying, children hurt and you hear them crying. Can you practice what you preach? And would you turn the other cheek?